So this is something that happened during the time of the Prophet ﷺ when alcohol was first prohibited, and he ﷺ, he told them, they said, Ya Rasulullah, can we make it into khal? Can we make this into vinegar? And he ﷺ, he told them no. And then they all destroyed it and they all threw it away. It said that the streets of Medina flowed with alcohol in that day. But this does bring a valid question when it comes to alcohol and other uses, and the purpose and the reason of why he ﷺ might have prohibited it in that moment, and why he would have told them not to do that. You also have a series and stages of prohibition from him ﷺ. There was a time where he ﷺ, he prohibited them from even using containers that had alcohol in them. So I think a good similarity to that is it okay for me to drink Pepsi from a beer bottle, for example, right? Or is it okay for me to drink water from like a vodka bottle? And this is something that during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, that there was a point where it was prohibited, and then he ﷺ allowed it. So the question then comes, if when the companions came to him, they said, hey, can we turn this into alcohol? Is the reason because using that and transforming that into vinegar was the prohibition because he ﷺ didn't want them to allow to use alcohol? Or was it because their hearts were still attached to drinking, right? It's a culture of alcoholism. I would say that if I drew a parallel, it would be very similar to American culture and probably even European culture. Alcohol is drank very socially. Like, it is a very, very social drink. The same way that we drink tea and coffee, right? Like when we invite others over, this is the same way that they deal alcohol. They'll get together over alcohol, just like many times we'll get together over tea and coffee. So it's something that was very pervasive in their society, and he ﷺ was scaling these people away from that. And the reason that I bring this issue up is because for those individuals who make perfumes, what will happen is, like, you have a very concentrated form of this perfume, and in order to have this concentrated amount, you can't sell that, right? Like, you actually have to dilute it. And one of the easiest ways to dilute it is with alcohol. The other uses alcohol have is, for those of you that have enjoyed vanilla ice cream or anything with a vanilla flavor, the easiest way to extract the vanilla from the bean is with alcohol, right? You can do it with water, but it's not as efficient. So are there specific use cases where you can use alcohol? And for example, in the case of vinegar, all right, if I have alcohol, can I turn it into vinegar? This is a valid question. The first part of your question is like, can I turn it into alcohol and then into vinegar? No, that's not permissible. You can actually go straight to vinegar. It's not necessary that you take that step. But if I'm using it, for example, to they call it cutting, right? If I'm using it to cut my perfume, if I'm using it to cut fragrance, is it permissible for me to do that? Because it's not being used for consumption, I would say that in that case, it is permissible to use the alcohol to cut it. And if an individual is, for sure, there are some people who have that attraction and that inclination toward alcohol. If you're those people, it is not permissible for you, no doubt, right? There's no reason to fall into fitna. There are so many other business opportunities. This is not something that a person has to engage in or get involved in. But if you are not from those people, right, the easiest, cheapest, and best way to do that is actually to use alcohol. And getting alcohol and getting pure alcohol is something that is you can use to actually cut that perfume so that you can sell it and so that you can utilize it. The other case is someone might say, okay, well, what about in the case of vanilla? Because you have an alternative, right? You have an alternative in water in extracting the vanilla extract, and there's no reason to use that. Anytime you have an alternative for something, then you are mandated to use that alternative. The problem with perfumes, you actually don't. The only way to cut it is with alcohol, which is why you have all of these different perfumes. Most perfumes have alcohol in them. Most perfumes, most colognes, most fragrances, they have alcohol in them. And the reason for that, because it's the only way to actually dilute that particular fragrance and that particular smell. And Allah knows best. Wallahu a'lam wa sallallahu ala khayri khalqin nabiyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam.